I don't have a lot of time right now. The bourgeoisie is after me. So let's get this video over and done with. What are we talking about today? It says here, money. I don't have any money. Oh, I just have to talk about it. I can do that. Money is fake. Happy holidays everyone. On this definitely timely and not early/late video. You feel that pain in your stomach from having to spend so much money over the past/next few weeks? What if I told you it isn't real? No, not the pain from being poor, that's definitely real. I'm talking about money. Have you ever thought about money? I'm sure you have. You're a smart little kid, and I bet you've thought about money at least once. No, twice in your life. But fat man, what do you mean money is fake? It's right here, see? But if you've been online a while, you might have seen an equally handsome but severely hairier man than me say
that money is fake. We made it up. It's all bullshit.
But what does that mean? Let's do a little thought experiment. If you have an apple and I gave you $2 for it, does that mean that apple is worth $2? Now, instead of money, you gave me an apple for, say, a promise from me to not kick you in the balls. What's the value of the apple then? Money as we know it doesn't have to exist in this case. You can replace it with anything as long as you understand its function. A promise not to get kicked in the balls, that's money. A piece of poop, that's not money. An MTG card, money. Crypto, not money. Grow up. Stop being stupid. See, the apple isn't valued at $2. $2 is worth an apple. Yeah, I know it's confusing and sounds like some philosophical mumbo jumbo. So think of it like this. There are three parts to money. Value, which is the intrinsic fluctuating worth of an item or service. Then there's credit, the imaginary numerical counter that we assign to money. And finally, currency, the tradable object in which that imaginary counter is recorded on. Long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, on Earth somewhere, we created money. Alright, actually we don't know how money was created. It was created before humans really started recording history properly. We basically procrastinated with recording our history for a couple of thousands of years until we realized, oh shit, we need to hand this down to the next generation. Then we started doing our homework. One of the most significant money invented were tally sticks, where we cut notches into sticks and bones to record numbers. But fat man, you say again, insultingly, how is that money? That's not money, to which I say, are you sure? Think about it. What is money? No, really, think about it. Use that sexy brain of yours. What is this? It's a piece of paper with a number on it. So why can we use this to buy stuff, but not say this? Other than the fact that that's counterfeiting, which I have never done in my life, probably. Why does this work? Because we as a society decided that it works. See, money is an IOU. It's a promise that if I give you this piece of paper, it will provide you with something else that the money's value is tied to. In this case, it's a promise that if I gave you this paper, you will be able to use it in exchange for an apple as the value that is tied to this money. It's a tool for transactions. That's all the money is, an IOU out of a transaction that will happen in the future. So let's go back to that stick. If I gave you, say, a bag of printed notes to do non-counterfeiting stuff with, I will make a notch in that stick. That notch means you owe me something of equivalent value to that bag of counterfeit notes. If I notch it 50 times, you owe me 50 exchanges. Now for the smart kid in the audience, you would have realized that this is credit. We tend to think of credit as a modern thing, but it actually predates physical currency. Think about that. We've been owing people money since before money was a thing. We're using imaginary numbers to do real things. If you're a mathematician, pretend you didn't hear that. Because again, that's what money is. It's imaginary credit, something we made up, a promise, an IOU. And an IOU is value we take from the future. Money is physical credit, and credit is a time machine. It borrows value from the future to trade in the present. And once the trade is finished, the time loop completes. Like the obscure movie Avengers Endgame, similar to the Infinity Stone, once the tally stick is used up, it's no longer useful. This process of tracking credits is called money of accounts. But when we talk about this type of money, this currency, what we're talking about is money of exchange. For this type of money, as long as currency is used or exchanged, the value is constantly being borrowed from possibly infinite future. Hi everyone, Future Aiden here. I realized I wasn't being very clear in this segment, so I just wanted to elaborate. Money of accounts is basically using an infinite imaginary pool of numbers to track real current value, while money of exchange is using currency to track a possibly infinite future pool of value. Basically using imaginary numbers to track real value or using objects to track imaginary future value. Back to past Aiden's stupid me. This $2 here is basically a promise that I can get an apple in the future, and a promise from me to you that if I give you this $2, you can also do that. As long as we continue this transaction of future value borrowing, it'll be fine. But what if the future disappears? What happens if there are no more apples? Recession is always talked about as if it's this complicated thing, but if you really want to simplify it, it's just a moment in time when money loses its value. There are many ways for this to happen, but we'll use apples as an example. I know, that's such an original idea that I've never used before. If there are more apples than demand, then money loses its value because you don't need it to make transactions, because you can just pick apples yourself. However, if there are not enough apples, money also loses its value because apples become too expensive. You can't afford to buy apples, you can't do transactions. Also, if there's too much money, everyone don't need more money, so there's no longer a need to sell apples. Then money loses its value. But if there's too little money, people can't use it to buy apples and no transactions are made. So money no longer has value. Let's summarize. If there's too much money, recession. If there's too little money, also recession. If there's too much stuff, recession. If there's too little stuff, also recession. It's really starting to seem like this unregulated capitalism thing is kind of filled with stupid problems. But I'm sure you must be asking, Fat Man, how do you stop a recession? Simple. Spend more money. Spending money creates transactions, which creates value. That can be hard to do when you're poor and have to save money for a rainy day, or some people have an impossibly large amount of money that they simply refuse to spend. So let's talk about how money dies. Money only works because we made it up. We decided the rules and it only works when we follow it. And like all made up rules, if we stop following it, the game no longer works. If we stop using money, its value disappears, as if it's a story that comes out of a collective imagination. You know, imagination? The thing that doesn't exist, like money. This is what I mean when I say money is fake. Unlike money, the value of an apple to the world never goes away. You throw it away, it turns into fertilizer, which people will use to grow food, which turns into energy, which turns into work, etc., etc. At every point in time, someone will find value in it. It has intrinsic value that never goes away. But money, or more specifically, currency and credit, is only worth itself. If you take a currency and destroy it, that value is gone like a number erased from a whiteboard. That's it. The time machine stops working. Its future disappears. The same thing happens if you took money to a place or situation where it doesn't accept money, like the moon, crypto, or PayPal. It can no longer do its sole purpose of facilitating transactions. As long as it is not used for what it's meant to, transactions, the value of money can disappear. And maybe it should. But money can also disappear despite being usable. There are other ways for money to disappear other than for it to be destroyed. There's another much more common way that money dies. Here's a crazy example to illustrate it. Let's say a small group of people, hypothetically, decides to hoard more money than most of the world's population combined and doesn't use them for anything because who needs that much money anyway? What actually useful thing can you buy with, say, $2 billion that you can't buy with $1 billion? Nobody needs that much money. I can't even think of something I will buy with $2 billion. That's why this is a hypothetical, you see. Who needs that much money? Nobody. That's why this is a hypothetical situation that doesn't exist. Nobody hoards more money than most of the world's population. Who would do that? Who needs to hoard so much money? Nobody. The money being hoarded hypothetically isn't undergoing transactions. It has no value. The time machine stops working. Its future disappears. That's why money being hoarded is bad. The same happens with societal needs like healthcare. In a society with, say, free healthcare, money through taxation is constantly being used to provide transactions for healthcare because someone getting sick is an everyday occurrence, every moment in time, which is good because not the getting sick part, but we are gaining the value of those transactions. But in another hypothetical situation, there might be some countries that still don't have free healthcare because they don't want to tax all those hypothetical rich people hoarding all those hypothetical money, forcing every individual to hoard money as well, so that they may or may not use it in the future for a medical emergency that may or may not happen. In a hypothetical, made-up system, we may or may not call insurance, preventing even more transactions, breaking the rules which we made up of money, which is fake, even further, making its value worse, making everyone poorer, except the hypothetical rich people hoarding their hypothetical money hypothetically. Money is fake. We made up the rules. The rules we made up is that it is for transactions. We break that rule. Money stops working. Money is fake. It's stupid. Money is stupid. Oh my god, I hate this. So now that we know money is fake, what can we do about it? Nothing. We as a society has decided that rules are in place. So until we all decide otherwise, we're stuck with these worthless pieces of paper or plastic in some cases, dictating every moment of our lives. Unlike some other things we've talked about on this channel, money isn't bad. It's a tool, like me. But personally, I think how we're using it right now is bad. If we are going to keep using money, our society should be built to allow money to move around more so that its value for transactions can exist. For the smart people, you might recognize this scenario as wealth redistribution, or giving money to the poor, or socialism, or don't be a dick. This is why there are smart people who like to say things like tax the rich, eat the rich, free healthcare. We don't need to save ridiculous amounts of money just to survive. If we can create a society that doesn't need to do that, we don't need things like insurance, another concept we made up, just to give more money to people to hoard on our behalf. Do all that and we can let money do its one job. It's destiny. What it was made for. Stay with me. I have a Patreon. Give me money. Hi everyone. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and give me money on patreon.com/Aiden_Ng because doing that is making a transaction. And I guarantee you, my poor ass will continue to make more transactions because I need to buy stuff to survive. I'm so poor. Please give me money. I recommend the book Money, the True Story of a Made-Up Thing by Jacob Goldstein if you want to learn more about this stupid thing we call money. It's the bourgeoisie. Gotta go.